Thanks for checking out another new podcast from Coding Spur Magazine. I'm your host, Ben Dubose, and I'm the news editor with the AMP publications team. AMP, of course, is the shorthand acronym for the Association for Materials Protection and Performance, of which Coatings Pro is a member magazine. Today, we're chatting again with Andrew Kroll and Ken Seal from the International Union of Painters and Allied Trades, or IUPAT for short. IUPAT has so many great initiatives and resources that can be of assistance to our coatings audience, and so we're going to highlight a few of those on today's sponsored episode. As you may recall, we had Ken and Andrew join us in the first quarter of 2025, so we're happy to have them back, and we're going to expand on that conversation in this summer of 2025 episode, let's call it. This time, we're going to be looking primarily at issues related to safety and industry influence. So for this discussion, we want this to be the same type of quick-hitting roundtable format that we had a few months ago. So if both of you want to answer a question, of course you can. But if you want to let just one person speak for a given subject, that works as well. So let's start with some background on the IUPAT. Can you guys start by giving our listeners a quick overview of IUPAT and its role within the coatings industry?
We hear so many times IUPAT, the International Union of Painter and Allied Trades. And something that we strongly believe in is part of our mission statement, and that's to better the lives of each and every member by being the strongest, most powerful voice in the industries we represent. And since we represent industrial painters and how we get there to become the most powerful voice, it is working alongside partners like AMP to change the way things are done and to raise the bar across the whole entire industry, not just union, but non-union as well. And we try to raise that bar to ensure that the end users are getting the best quality product and that our workers are getting the best possible benefits, training, and pay possible.
And as far as IUPAT's support for coating professionals and industrial painters out in the field, what are some of the key ways that you guys do that?
Number one's through training. We have our Finishing Trades Institute, which we ensure that every worker has the proper training. And whether they're an apprentice working their way from not knowing anything to journey person level, we're there every step of the way to ensure that they get the knowledge, the training, and the certifications they need to be successful. Another thing is that we ensure that every worker has a secured retirement, and that's through the IUPAT pension fund, or it may be a local pension fund. But we truly believe that every worker out there who sacrifices their time, their body out there doing a job, they deserve, when they have the chance to retire, to enjoy some of the life benefits without having to worry about financial stress. So that's another way we truly support our members.
That's a great answer there, Andrew. And another thing we do, and we make sure we do, not only do we, train them, but we're out on the job sites talking to the workforce that's out there, making sure that we're meeting their needs, making sure we're meeting the contractors' needs, and we're making sure that any support either the worker or the contractor needs, that we're there to do that, ensuring the success of that coating professional when they're in the field.
So I know for you all at the IUPAT, safety is a cornerstone of your mission. What specific safety protocols or programs do you all have that sets the IUPAT apart?
That's a great question. First and foremost, our mission is to make sure that our union workers are safe on the job site. They have a right to go to work and to go home without no injury. That's foremost our mission, is to ensure that happens. The only way that we could do that is to ensure that our members are trained to the highest standards. And one way that we do that is our district councils do what they call a core week. So their first week coming into an apprenticeship program, that first 40-hour week is specifically concentrated on safety. So that way when they go to the job site, they go to their first day with a contractor, they are trained on how to be safe, how to get home the way they came to work. So that's foremost importance. The other thing that does is it's over billions of dollars to a company a yearly, or to the industry yearly, for construction accidents. And with OSHA, figure about $4 to $6 for every dollar spent in a safety program. So a great safety program saves the contractor $4 to $6 for every dollar spent, and that's important to us also, is to making sure that our companies are profitable. And the only way to do that is to make sure that all of our protocols are on the top of the standards and it's where it needs to be.
And I know that training is aligned with that. How does the IUPAT's training ensure that your workers are staying up to date with the latest standards and technologies pertaining to safety?
We have a safety committee that meets monthly, and they go over anything that they're seeing within the industry. And these safety committees are made up of our district councils in every region. We're talking the Eastern region, the Western region, and Central region in Canada. That committee is made out of. So that committee meets monthly to ensure that, our councils are getting what they need. As for me, I sit on ACOSH. ACOSH is done right at the moment, as we know things are going on. But that's advisory committee to OSHA. I'm one of 75 voting members on the ANSI A10 construction standards. I sit on AFL, CIO, and NAB2 Safety and Health Board, and multiple other boards that I sit on in the safety realm. I also attend multiple conferences and talk at multiple conferences to make sure that I am up to date with all the standards and technologies. And then what I do is I share that with our safety committee, and we also do train the trainers to ensure our instructors are updated on the technologies, the standards that I find out that's going on within the industry. And with that, it goes down to our workers to ensure that they're trained to the most up-to-date standards and technologies that's out there.
What are some of the most common safety challenges that your workers encounter in the coatings industry? And what are the ways that you guys try and help those workers navigate those?
A lot of our workers, especially on the industrial painting realm, travel for work. And something that we have to navigate through to help them and help our contractors is ensure that they get the training they need no matter where they are in the country. So we're able to facilitate classes and make that happen. So if you have somebody from California working on the East Coast and they need an OSHA 10, an OSHA 30, fall protection, lift training, we're able to do that without them having to go home to do that or for the contractor to pay for it.
Can you share a success story or two where IUPAT safety training was able to prevent a serious safety incident?
It's almost every second of every day that one of our members are out on a job. But no, I'll give you an example is when we do our rigging and we run our steel cables over steel beams, we put a thing in there called a softener, which creates a barrier between that cable and the steel. And that's an industry standard practice. For example, in areas where you may not notice something like that, our members double check to make sure that those were in place. They weren't, and they stopped the whole entire job. Everybody stopped and they fixed that before something bad happened or could happen.
That was a great story there, and it just shows the fact of how our training is successful. Having no accidents is success for us, and we strive to have no accidents on the job. So every part of a system or a process is gone over in school from an apprenticeship class to a journeyman upgrade. So if it's something new, let's say a company is going to start hanging decking underneath a bridge, we actually have structures within our facilities that we can train a person in a safe environment on how to rig that system, how to do that process. And by doing that and showing them the things that could go wrong if they did certain things, helps us have those success stories about, oh, that did not happen. And we would rather something not happen because we did the training to where we needed to, rather than do training that does not need any standard, does not meet any qualification, and have somebody get hurt.
And Ken, you're absolutely right about taking the apprentice and working with them every step of the way, and that includes journey people too. Something that we are able to do is to not only teach them this is what you do, but then once again, like we said in the last episode, we teach them why you have to do it, the consequences, the reason behind it, the theory behind it. And when they realize that, they tend to look a little bit harder at things that could go wrong.
All right, let's talk about training and workforce development initiatives because I think those work hand in hand with your emphasis on safety. You all at IUPAT have got this apprenticeship program that you talked about on our last episode. How does that apprenticeship program prepare these professionals to succeed over the long haul?
That's a great question, and I appreciate that question actually. When somebody comes in to join our apprenticeship program, they're joining not just an apprenticeship program, but they're joining a family. And that's one of our values. And we truly believe in that. And being in a family, we make sure that we take care of them from start to finish. And when they start their first week of an apprenticeship program, we go, like I said before, we go over the core week, which is all the safety stuff to keep them prepared and to keep them safe on a job site. We want them there long term. We do not want them to get hurt their first week of a construction site and then not be able to work. We want them to have long term success. So that's one way we do it, is to make sure that they're prepared safety wise. Then we go through every step of a craft to make sure that they understand the tools inside and out. Not only do we do that, but we make sure that they understand the reasons they're using the tools. What standards are out there that when using the equipment, tools, and coatings do they need to meet? So they are, when they finish an apprenticeship program, they're not only professionals in the tools and equipment that a coating professional would use, but they are also proficient in doing QA, quality assurance work, quality control work, because they know what the inspectors are doing out there and the types of gauges and how to use those gauges that an inspector would do. So not only are we training them for that, but we're training them for the long-term success in what they do. And also when they're doing their apprenticeship program, they're about 3 to 4 credits away from an associate's degree in college. So not only are we training professionals to be good in their craft itself, but we're actually a college in a way, and they're building up those college credits as they're going through. So not only can they be in the field doing the work there, but as they grow older in their craft, they can pivot in different areas by getting a degree, owning a company, and we support all that.
What are some of the innovations or new techniques that are being introduced in your training programs that help these professionals adapt to an industry that's honestly evolving by the day, it feels like?
We stay on top of the industry itself. So, and that's the only way to understand what new techniques are going out there, what innovations are going out there. We set on multiple third party associations. We set on third party manufacturers. We sit on all these committees to make sure that we are there when something comes out. VR, VR is coming out. That's a new technology that's out there for our training. We are really involved in the VR. We have different types of VR systems out there that we innovate inside of our apprenticeship program. Not only the apprentices can use it, but let's say a journey person has never been on a booms or a scissor lift. We have a VR system that actually puts them 180 feet in the air on a boom lift that is actually sitting on the ground. So we stay up on technology ourselves. We make sure that technology is in every one of our training centers. So every one of our training centers can introduce this stuff to the membership, not only apprentices that are coming in, but also the journey folks that we have in our trades.
And then another challenge is obviously emerging technologies and things that are coming down the pike in future months or years. What are the ways in which the IUPAT ensures that its workers are equipped to handle those newer technologies that are coming, like coding robotics or some of the advanced methods within surface prep?
That comes down to the relationship that we build with manufacturers of whether it's the robotics, surface prep manufacturers, coating manufacturers, and we're able to stay on top of what's coming out, the new technology. We're able to help our contractors get a hold of this new equipment, and then we're able to work with these manufacturers to either take their trainer to train our members or help develop training itself for these companies in order to go out and train on whatever products they have. So we really we really hold those relationships in high regard in order to, work with the emerging technologies out there.
We have a lot of floor covering that's coming out, a lot of floor epoxy systems that are new. We bring the manufacturers in, and manufacturers actually do a train-the-trainer for us with our staff and with some of the apprentices and some of the contractors there at the same time. Not only the floor covering industry, but the industrial coatings industry, be it a new pump that might have came out, a new fireproofing pump, a new epoxy pump that comes out. Our manufacturers in the relationship that we've built with them, they come in and actually do the trainings right inside of our facilities. And we invite our membership there. We invite our contractors there. And of course, the manufacturers.
Hi, I'm Lisa Shortino, Managing Editor of Coatings Pro Magazine. Are you interested in exploring the latest trends in materials degradation and mitigation? If so, you can join scientists, engineers, and industry leaders at the 22nd International Conference on Environmental Degradation of Materials in Nuclear Power Systems, happening August 10th through 14th, 2025 in Long Beach, California. Hosted by AMP, this premier event brings together global experts to tackle the challenges impacting safety and performance in nuclear systems. Registration is now open. Secure your spot today at envdeg.amp.org. We'll see you in Long Beach.
So you've mentioned these other entities, and earlier you talked about the ways that IUPAT works with us at AMP. And that's so important because none of us can really enact significant change while working in a silo. It takes working together and pooling resources to speak to a larger cross section of the worker base. So at IUPAT, when it comes to industry influence and advocacy, what are the ways that you all collaborate with other industry leaders, with contractors, as you were just speaking to, and with regulatory bodies to help shape safety and work standards that are ultimately in the best interest of the workforce?
You mentioned AMP. AMP is the top association that draws up standards. You cannot do something the way it's supposed to be done without a standard on how it does to do it. Like you can't drive down the freeway with a speed limit sign at 55 and you're going at 100. 55 is the standard. If there was no speed limit sign there, you could go 100, you could go 200. No matter what do you want to go, you can do that because there was no standard set. There has to be a standard set to make sure things are done correctly. AMP is the leading association that builds those standards to make sure that our infrastructures that we work on daily are done correctly. We make sure that our professionals are trained to those standards, not less than those standards, to those standards or better. So our professionals are trained to those standards. With AMP, we go to their annual conference every year, and there's lots of meetings there that develop the standards for new things that are coming out, new technologies that are coming out. There's manufacturers there we have meetings with at AMP, with the AMP staff, to make sure that the standards meet what they're looking at. That agency, AMP, is one of the best companies that you can actually work with in understanding the standards and making sure that the workers are out there doing it the right way.
So on a day-to-day basis, you guys want these coatings professionals to get home safely, and you want them to be able to provide for their families. What role do you all play in advocating for fair wages and for better working conditions? What does the IUPAT do on those fronts?
We try to elevate the bar for the industries we represent. And when we elevate the bar, we elevate everyone, not just the union, but we elevate the non-union as well. Now, we have the IUPAT mission statement, and we call it the one union, one family, and one fight. And how we elevate this is, we'll take the one union for example. We stand together collectively, regardless of what trade we're in. We all come together. We support each other, and that's where that one family comes in. And then the one fight, we fight for the rights of the workers, and we include advocating for better wages, working conditions, and workplace safety. And when we put all three of those together, we're really able to raise that bar to a higher level.
That's a great answer there, Andrew. And I'm glad that you brought up the one family, one union, one fight. That's a value statement that we stand on. And when we say one union, because we represent multiple crafts within the IUPAT, every one of those crafts that we represent is a family to us. And we'll take care of that family from the first day that they step on to our training facilities and our union halls until the last day they retire and beyond. So that's that, that family part. That's something we believe in wholeheartedly. And then we're fighting, just like Andrew said, we're going to fight for the better conditions to make sure that they're going to work and they're going home safe. That's important to us. And we're going to fight for those conditions to make sure that they have the conditions to be safe at work. And then, Andrew brought up the fair wages part of that. We're going to fight to make sure that every single employee has a living wage no matter where they're at. A worker has a right to go to work and to make enough money to have a house that they can buy, to raise a family, to put their kids through college, to make sure that they can, feed them. They have a right to do that. And we're going to fight to make sure that in everything that we do, that our workers have a living wage.
So, when people think of issues related to safety and training, I think many of them look at things like how trained a worker is to handle a complex piece of equipment or the PPE that they're wearing to protect themselves from exposure or other hazards such as that. However, there's also another piece of the equation that's very important, and that's environmental safety and making sure that the surrounding environment is suitable for workers and honestly the general public as well. So, how do you all at IUPAT contribute to the advancement of those environmental safety practices, such as controlling hazardous coatings or managing lead abatement, those types of things?
Once again, it comes back down to those relationships we build with different manufacturers on new and emerging technology. We also work with industrial hygienists of best practices or new best practices coming out, and then take those best practices and incorporate those into our training. We attend conferences and we're always on top of the game with whatever comes out to ensure that it's passed down to not only our workers, but our contractors to ensure that they're doing the right thing as well.
That's a great answer there, Andrew. We also, as the IUPAT, I mentioned the safety committee earlier that meets on a monthly. There's probably 20 individuals that sit on that particular committee, and most of them are actually going to college, if not finished college, for environmental safety and health degree. That's the degree I got. So having those professionals within our industries helps us in the advancement of any safety technology or equipment that's out there. One thing is that it is very, very important to protect the workforce in any environment that they might be in. It might be for lead, to make sure that they're not breathing in lead, they're not bringing lead home to their families, which is bad. And it's not just the lead, it's all the other stuff that's out there, chromium, nickel, all that other stuff that we deal with, all the high coatings that we deal with that has solvent and vapors and all that stuff that we deal with. Those safety practices are important, not only how to read an SDS sheet, a safety data sheet, and understanding the health effects to what you're using and what safety protocols, PPE, you're supposed to use. It's really about, protecting the worker first. Then we have to look at how are we going to control the hazard to get out to the public. So we understand how that containment is supposed to be put up. We understand how negative air is supposed to be done to keep that hazardous with inside the containment so it's not escaping to the outside public. One of the big things is that we work on a lot of bridges. And if any hazardous material, lead, or any other stuff gets in the water, then we understand that that gets into the food that we all eat. We cannot allow that to happen. And we take that very, very seriously. And we have people on our job sites on a daily basis to ensure whatever we set up to protect the workers and whatever we set up to protect the public is in good shape and operating the way it's supposed to operate.
I think that's a good perspective on where the industry is today. Now, as we wind down our conversation, I want to spin it forward to the future of this industry and how you all are preparing for any changes that are coming down the pike in the coming years. So let's start with a broad question. How do you all see the coatings industry evolving over the next decade? Let's say 5 to 10 years. And what are the ways that you all at the IUPAT are prepping your members for those changes?
Once again, attending the conferences to see what's coming out there. They always have the new evolving things, especially at the AMP conference, working with these manufacturers and having these manufacturers get into our facilities and go over some of the emerging technologies. We invite our contractors to come in as well, and we work hand in hand with our members, with the contractors, with our training department to ensure that anything that's new and relevant to our industry, we're on top of it.
And you look at technology in itself, you got the robotics that we mentioned earlier that can actually blast certain surfaces, that can spray certain surfaces, to the drone technology that can inspect the work that we're doing, even down to doing a millage reading from a drone. And that's just to name a couple of items. So if we look out 5 or 10 years, but you can't really do that in the industry that we're at because our industry changes daily. So not only are we preparing for that 5 to 10 years, like when the drones are coming out, where they're going, how they're developed, what are they going to look like in 5 and 10 years? What are the robotics going to look at in 5 or 10 years? How can we prepare our workforce to meet those demands in 5 to 10 years? Not only are we looking at that, but we are also making sure that the workforce that we have today stays up to date on a daily basis to make sure that we're meeting those demands. And if we continue to do that on a daily basis, we will be prepared for those changes in 5 and 10 years.
So, when it comes to the importance of hiring trained, safety certified professionals, that's always important. And I know that's a message that you're always hitting home when you're speaking to contractors and facility owners. And hopefully, some of those are listening to this podcast. However, as the technologies get more complicated, as this industry evolves with some of the changes that we've been talking about, I'm guessing that hiring trained, safety certified professionals is only going to become even more important. Not that it wasn't already, but when we talk about the intricacies of some of these newer technologies, it's only going to become even more important, I think, in the decade ahead. So, what message do you want to send to those contractors and facility owners about that importance? And what have you all found as far as the best strategies to break through and to make sure that they realize just how important this is to hire professionals that are trained and safety certified?
So there's always these case studies out there of hiring somebody who wasn't properly trained, who wasn't certified, whether it's the workers or the contractor themselves. Those case studies are always great to put in the hands of people who have doubts. Another thing is working with AMP to ensure that we have people like Dave Evans, who comes to either a municipality or a city and explain the importance of some of the QP programs for contractors and why they should be writing those into the specifications. But something else is with our health and safety programs that we have for our members, it will actually help lower contractors' EMR or their safety rating. And a lot of these jobs and facilities look at that, whether a contractor is able to perform the work and perform the work safely. So hiring workers that have a valid training program helps ensure that those EMR ratings stay low.
It's very important for, I think, our contractors to understand when they hire somebody that we have trained in the safety, especially that first week, is part of a safety program that they should have. They should have a written safety program. And with that written safety program, there should be somewhere in their programs a training. We make sure that the workers that we send them are trained up and above their safety program. I said earlier, it saves a contractor $4 to $6 for every dollar spent on a safety program. Why not have safety professionals come in their first day of work? It saves them money already right from the start. And then if you look at lost days, there was over 150,000 lost days last year for workers, for injuries and accidents that was out there. It's in the billions of dollars to get hurt. It's over, like in the 30s to up to $60 billion sometimes in direct costs to the U.S. because of injuries. So if you just look at that itself, and if I was a company owner, I would want to make sure that the ones that I was hiring had an understanding of how to be safe on a job site. And then I look at my profitability on that and I go, if I hire a safe, trained professional, I have some type of insurance that I'm hiring somebody that's going to make my company a profit. That's how I look at that. And I don't have to worry about them getting the proper training on the job site only. I know that they're coming to my job site already with a theory of being safe and doing the job the way it's supposed to be done.
So, final question for you guys. For anyone that's considering joining the IUPAT or working with IUPAT trained professionals, what's the key takeaway that you want them to remember? What's your sales pitch to convince them to get involved or work with professionals that are trained by the IUPAT?
Something I'd like to always say is we're here. We're going to fight for the worker. We're going to fight and advocate for our members. We're going to fight and advocate even for our contractors. And that we're always going to stay up to date on any training, any relevant safety equipment, any manufacturers or products coming out. We're going to be up to date and we're going to be on top of every one of these things. So becoming a partner or a member of the IUPAT, you're going to be on the front row seat of what's coming out in the coding industry world.
That was great, Andrew. And, for anybody considering joining the IUPAT, just remember you're joining a family. You're not just going to a job and for your first time not knowing what you're doing. When you join the IUPAT, you're joining a family. We're going to take you underneath our wings and mentor you in what you need to know and understand to be a professional on a job site. Not only we're going to train you inside a facility that we have, our training facilities, but we're going to be on the job sites to make sure that our contractors and the ones that you are working with are also mentoring you in the way that you need to be successful. If you want a job that can support your family, if you want a job that can put your kids through college, if you want a job that can feed your family, then the IUPAT is a family you want to join.
Excellent insight there from Ken Seal and Andrew Kroll with the International Union of Painters and Allied Trades, IUPAT for short. For any listener that wants to learn more, what are the best ways that they can do that? I'm guessing it's your website and social media, but for anyone wanting more information or to perhaps take advantage of your resources at IUPAT, feel free to plug whatever you'd like to plug to help them do that.
Yeah, it's simple. IUPAT.org. Easiest thing to do is go on our website. There is a section out there to become a member. Fill that out, and somebody will get with you within a couple days.
Good stuff. All right, that will do it for today's episode. They mentioned where our listeners can learn more from the IUPAT, and as far as us at Coatings Pro and AMP, the best places to get more info from our side are at our websites, which you can find at coatingspromag.com or amp.org. You can also search for Coatings Pro or AMP at your social media outlet of choice or your podcast film of choice and find lots of great content on subjects pertaining to the coatings industry and the broader mission of materials protection and performance, of which obviously we want our professionals to be safely trained, and organizations such as IUPAT play a pivotal role in making that happen. Okay, so with all the plugs complete, we'll adjourn for tonight. For Andrew and Ken with IUPAT, I'm Ben Dubose, news editor with the AMP Publications team. Thanks as always for listening, and please come back soon for more new podcasts from Coatings Pro and AMP.
Hey, thank you, Ben.